Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to Live and Streaming. Happy Saturday, happy Saturday. Hope everyone out there is doing really well. And today's episode, I can't wait. It's so exciting for me. We're going to be talking about one of the greatest thrash albums of all time, Forbidden Evil. And my guest today is Craig Lociero and Matt Camacho, and they should be coming in very shortly here. So give them a warm welcome. Let's see. There's Craig and there's Matt. Hello, guys.
Hey.
Hi there. Am I sideways?
You are sideways, man.
Watch this. Magic. How about that?
Sick. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
Cool.
welcome to the show, gentlemen. Thank you, Craig. You're a returning guest.
Okay.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
And Matt is first time on a Live and Streaming, dude. You came out of the woodwork,
Wow.
bro.
Yeah. It's I've been starting to do a few more of these podcasts, man. It's like a lot of people are enjoying those old stories and stuff. So I thought I would jump in on a few more, and my stories get better and better as the years go on for some reason. I don't know why, but
Good,
Well,
good,
I-
good.
More and more colorful.
yeah, right.
Good.
That's
Craig,
pretty-
I see you got your color scheme. Is the Forbidden Evil color scheme behind you?
Purely by accident.
Oh,
Purely
come on.
by accident. I walked in. I'm over here at Chris Contos's place. So I'm doing a little Boneless Ones rehearsal when we're done. On headphones,
Okay.
by the way. But yeah, I walked in. He's got these LED lights, and he didn't even realize it. But there's the blue, and there's the red, and we do this, and it was like
Skulls.
And you get a little bit, you could kind of see the yellow too.
yeah.
Kind of.
Well, yeah. There's a little of that.
Dude, guys, I want to talk about this album, Forbidden Evil. Jesus
And that's one
Christ, dude.
colorful album cover.
It is, it is. Dude, I don't know, man. This album is so badass. I just want to know, dude, how old were you guys when you wrote this record? Or wrote the songs, or wrote the riffs, or what's going on, man?
Well, I know that I was 19. I turned 19 in the studio when we were recording it. And that was my 19th birthday, and I remember that well. I remember Julia Bono being there and hanging out that day. And honestly, dude, the song was written over the span of like from 1985 with things like Forbidden Evil, all the way till we went in the studio with the last song being Through Eyes of Glass. So. And that's with three guitar players writing, because Rob was the primary writer when we started, because I was only 15, and he was kind of showing me the ropes. And then when he left, I kind of took a primary writing role, and then Glenn started writing too at the same time. And it's just, so there's all these riffs, and we were hella young, but I was the youngest by like about almost a year. I think Matt's just like almost a year older than me, Matt.
Yep.
Almost.
It
So we
seems
were
like
kids.
yeah, when I joined the band, you were at least a year and a half still in high school, from what I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I was already a dropout by then, but yeah, because I recall that time as I remember Robertson High and all that kind of stuff, So yeah, we were fucking hella young back then.
Yeah, we played
Right.
Robertson.
Right.
Yeah, so Forbidden was already playing with Rob in the band. We played Washington High in Fremont, which was a legendary show. And then a couple weeks later, we played American High. And then after Rob left and we got Glenn, we played my continuation high school, Robertson. And that was the lamest of all the shows, just because they don't allow that many people on campus. It's just people staring at us like a bunch of stoners. Everyone's a fuck up at that school, so it's not as cool because they're used to fucked up shit.
Now, Ralph Flynn was in the band, and yeah, he's known to write Chalice of Blood. But what other songs did Rob write or help write before he left to join Violence?
Well, we did everything together, even Chalice of Blood. Like, he had the riffs, and it was more or less put together, but not really. Like, we had it. The first version of it was so slow because Jim Pittman was on drums. It was good, but he didn't have the feet to play fast double bass. And that's Paul's cousin, so that's why we ended up getting Paul, because he actually started showing Jim how to play double bass. And his frame of reference was Ian Pace. He's like Ian Pace from Deep Purple. I'm like, cool. Then we watched him play, and then Rob and I looked at each other. We're like, that's how it's supposed to sound.
Oh,
and
shit.
then, but when Rob or even when Rob was in the band, when Paul was playing, it wasn't that fast. It gradually sped up to this fucking speed that Chalice is now, and with natural and unnatural substances probably helping influence that. but puberty and unnatural substances. But we did Forbidden Evil, like I said, was probably the first thing that we wrote together, and we just took his riff, my riff, his riff, my riff, so we just did our own little Satan's Fall, like a Merciful Fate kind of thing in our minds. That's how it was. And As Good as Dead was the only other song that he helped. And Matt was there when we started putting that together, or at least at some stage of it. And that was an amazing tune. But that was when Rob, he had a foot out the door at that point. So he only really helped with 3 songs. And yeah, 3 songs on that album. No, March into Fire too. That's right. Which is the first song I really wrote. But he came up with the third riff and the fast part. Oh, I shouldn't the fast part. The da 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 after that riff. Yeah, that was the first riff that he wrote in that song, and then I wrote the rest of that. That was the first song I wrote kind of by myself, and then he just added that little thing.
So was Paul in the band when Rob was in the band?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
not long.
Not long. Now, when Rob left, how many songs did you guys write with Glenn and Paul?
Well, Off the Edge, Through Eyes of Glass, Follow Me, and Feel No Pain.
8 fucking brutal songs.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the first 2 that Glenn and I wrote together, we were actually at his house in Fremont, and his dad had a stash of some stuff that was like really cool, and I've never did that. And really cool. It's really bad, But at the time, I was like, "Oh, it's really fucking cool."
Like Crank.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It was coke.
Okay.
But we never, I'd never done that. And he's like pulling out his big, nail. Is like, "Here, dude." I'm like, "Ah!" So like, so I'm starting to get it. And I think Off the Edge might have been the first thing. I was like, yeah. And then what Glenn brought immediately, because obviously Rob was a really great lead guitar player and rhythm player. Like, people don't know how good of a lead player he was. I think they're starting to realize how good Rob is now more than ever. But he was really fucking good, and he orchestrated incredible solo. And Glenn obviously brought shred. He brought even more shred, and he orchestrated incredible solos. But the one thing that he did do is when I'd write something crazy, he would add, he would figure out the chromatic chord change or key change that would kind of bring it to. So that was kind of cool. So we started kind of incorporated that right then, because he's used to kind of writing in that way. So he brought his rock and orchestral, like all the shit he was into, elements into it. So that happened real fast, and he had some really cool contributions like right off the bat.
Now, Glenn wasn't a metalhead, right?
He's metal.
He was like more into the
depends what you call metal.
80s. Okay.
Yeah, this shit was heavy. He would be able to do like all of Van Halen.
Yeah.
Crazy,
But was he a thrash metal dude at heart?
No,
like you guys were.
He had the puffy hair when I first met him.
No, he was no.
Yeah.
I knew Glenn in high school, and he was amazing. Like everyone knew him as that great guitar player who could break dance. And I'd never seen him play guitar. I only seen him break dance, and he had like the poofed hair, or before it was a poof, like one of those Mexican, like they comb it back with his hella long. Everyone called him Ace. Yeah, everyone called him Ace. And somebody's trying to call me, and we're not going to answer that. What the fuck?
Yeah, Craig.
No, decline.
Glenn was good.
How dare you call me when I'm on the radio or YouTube? But anyway, but he was known as a great guitar player, and I'd never seen him play, and until I went to like a warehouse party, and I finally got to watch him play, and he was shredding like Dokken and Yngwie, and like but he had his back turned to everybody. He wouldn't show him. He wouldn't show him what he was playing. Like that Van Halen thing. I don't want you to see what I'm doing, and but I knew he was really good. But I never considered him as a guitar player for Forbidden Evil till I got a cold call from him. And
really?
Who was it? Was it Yvette, Matt?
Is that what happened? Yeah, man. My recollection on that time, how my time frame is there. I was going to ask some questions about that.
We had a mutual friend who said you should try out for Forbidden Evil, and I'll never forget the phone call, because I pick up the phone. He's all, "What are you wearing?" I'm like, who the fuck is this? I never talked to him on the phone in my life, They talked to him in school in the hallways once in a while when he was going to school with me. But anyway, I said, yeah, well, he shreds. Let's check him out. But we had to get through that whole acclimation of like, he's a rock and roll dude trying to learn the ropes in thrash, you know, and it didn't take that long, but there was some battles there.
Dude, I mean, listening to these songs, especially through Eyes of Glass and Forbidden Evil, I mean, the riffs are so technical. What were you guys listening to that kind of inspired that? Because I think out of all the Bay Area thrash bands, you guys were the most technical.
You know, one thing, because I'm like sitting on the outside, was watching it all kind of be written, and they were kind of showing me the riffs. But maybe Craig could elaborate on this, because I seem to have a recollection of this one weekend where we went to Glenn's house, and it was like a Friday night, and we stayed there until Sunday, and they were playing and we were on substance. We were just kind of up all night playing and stuff. And I remember Craig and Glenn playing the whole entire Abigail record from front to back. I mean, I don't know if that really happened, but it's like a recollection I have of that night.
It did.
And it was like, and then, I mean, I personally saw a lot of those influences in some of the songwriting, like Merciful Fate. I mean, Through Eyes of Glass and Off the Edge. I saw a little bit of like Glenn adding some of that stuff in there. And, but it was funny because what I recollect is that Off the Edge, Eyes of Glass, and Follow Me were like put together that same weekend with the entire record. It seemed like it, like, you know, like, you were showing me my part. Maybe so. One subject at a time. To get back, I mean, yes, Merciful Fate was a huge influence on me, Ted, and Rob as well. And then when King Diamond came around, that was cool because it was even, you know, I think that was a bigger influence on Glenn because I think Andy LaRocque spoke to him in that kind of way, that shred way, whereas I was more, you know, trying to be like Michael Denner, but I didn't have self-control or vibrato or anything worked out at that point. Like for Forbidden Evil, dude, I had no feeling. I was just like, yeah, I was that thrash guy, you know, like 100% thrash guy. And Glenn, you know, had it all kind of worked out. But, you know, more than Merciful Fate, obviously all the other thrash bands, you know, Exodus was huge to us. I was a huge Iron Maiden fan. I was a huge Judas Priest fan. I was a huge Beatles fan. So there's always like this weird pop sensibility, even in the early stages, to the background of what I wrote. It was there, you know, and, but as far as if you want to, like, I could go through each song as like how it was kind of written, and we should probably do that. But there might have been a weekend, Matt, you're right, where we kind of showed you a bunch of shit. But those songs are all written at different times, different pieces. You know, we'll get to that as Ted asks the questions, I suppose.
You know, that's like Through Eyes of Glass. The beginning of Through Eyes of Glass it reminds me of the intro to Van Halen's DOA.
Totally.
Is that where it came from?
No, you know what? Subconsciously, because I loved that. I loved that so much. I heard Dead or Alive for the first time when I was home with a fucking 104 fever. And I heard it on the radio, and I didn't even really think of it. And then later on, I heard it. I was like, "Oh yeah, like, fuck, there it is." Like I didn't even think about it. But yeah, like Through Eyes of Glass is a great example of how it worked together because Glenn had the middle section done, like in a way. Not, you know, just guitar wise, he had an instrumental which was really slow compared to what it turned into, but it was the same exact chord progression, and he added to his solo once we added drums and everything like that. But the whole down, those two notes, those two things were there, and then Paul and I kind of assembled. I remember I came up with that first riff, and then we just started assembling riffs and kind of stuffed that killer part, the Glenn's part, in the middle section, which became an epic journey of all this stuff that became like a great song of, you know, that was the formula at that time. And I think that if we would have stuck to that formula with that lineup, you know, that was like going to work, but then everything kind of happened. So, but yeah, we were onto something, and that was the last song we wrote, as we were saying. But that's something that Glenn had for a long time, and that middle section, which is undeniably Glenn and amazing and fucking, you know, like, sick. You know, yeah, good luck guitar players trying to play that exactly the way it goes, because he's been playing since he was 4 years old.
He does the whole solo, right? He does the whole solo for that song.
It's the whole thing is like, it was part of his journey as a kid, I think, and I think he had that for a band called Orage, which was going to be like his instrumental thing, you know. But again, it was never intended to be in a thrash song. Paul and I made it a thrash song, but just kind of adding all these other things to it and then squeezing it in there. And then the double bass part and that part, like that was just great idea. Just juxtapose shit, that worked.
I mean, those riffs, man. I mean, great songwriting. I love the songs. Then when I break it down and start listening to each instrument, I'm like, man, you guys are just way ahead of your time. I think any one of you guys, drums, guitars, and bass, could actually be a member of Megadeth if you had to. You guys were that good,
So
man.
hard.
All that stuff is just insane. And check this out. And I'm going to
That's the
play-
benchmark. That's the benchmark, Ted. I think really looking back at Megadeth, that's just like, I figured out Killing Is My Business last year, and I was like, I figured out in a couple hours. I had to figure it out because that was my challenge to myself. I was learning this. I was like, holy shit, they started with this?
Right.
It was just insane, dude. It was like so good, so good. So I give a lot. I should add Megadeth to my influences because riff wise, definitely Dave Mustaine was a big part.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have, and you know what I like on some of your songs? I wouldn't say a trick, but a guitar thing you and Glenn would do. Like you'd start a riff, then he start it, then the rest of the band come in. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you play a riff, then he'll come in, then the whole band. Usually it's like you play one riff, then the whole band comes in. You get what I mean? Or there's like an accent and another guitar comes in. I really like that, what you guys do with that one. It sounds really big and meaty.
Meaty.
Yeah.
Well, the meat was a big part of our protocol.
And with that album too, listening to it, it sounds like it was recorded off the floor. You know what I mean? Like no.
I wish it was, but no.
It just sounds like it sounds live. Like.
Yeah,
it has that live feel.
It retained that, and I give him, John Cunaberde, obviously a great engineer and producer, and he worked with Joe Satriani, and he did Violence previous to us. But we brought in Doug Caldwell, who did our demos that we loved Doug so much. We thought he got great drum tones, which he did. And I think the Forbidden Evil drum tone is in great part due to those two working together and Doug being the sounding board for the way Paul likes his drums to sound. That was something that helped maintain that bombastic thing. But no, the process was a little bit painful because we didn't do any pre-production whatsoever. We walked in and just started doing it, and
what band did pre-production back then? I hear stories.
On their first album, especially.
Yeah,
right?
First albums, they go, dude, we got signed. Let's just record what we have done.
Yeah.
Very, very few. And we were the same. We just weren't, we just weren't all that prepared. Like some things I was completely prepared on. A couple things I got, caught with my pants around my ankles. But I think that was just for everybody.
It's amazing what the wall of sound will hide. Because when Craig and Rob or Glenn or Paul would show me something to play, yeah, I got it. Cool, man. And then everything's loud. I just blend in my bass so that it kind of so it was hiding a lot of what I was playing. So when we did go in the studio, I had to and I'm sure you might have heard this story. I've told it a few times, but when we got in the studio, Craig had to take me down in the basement and show me some of the riffs. Oh shit, you're not even playing those songs right. So it was like, but then I had to punch in and punch out.
I think
far from live.
Matt, I think it went something like, dude, that's how you're playing it?
Yeah, right, exactly. What? Yeah, right, exactly. I was all, but it was masked because we were so loud live, so it was like, and the hair is just whipping and the bass is playing, and it's like not playing the riffs right at all. It was pretty funny.
Well, you were playing a lot of them, right? You were playing a lot of them, right? But there's that little, I think with thrash metal and bass players, the formula, like Cliff Burton was an anomaly because he was playing shit separate than the band and harmonized like what the band chords were and stuff like that with all its Bach influence and stuff that he had a different type of thing, but everybody was trying to figure out their place and thought they all had to pick fast. And later on, people started figuring it out. And I give a band like Strapping Young Lad fucking 10 out of 10 for Byron Stroud's fucking. If it's going brrr, he go bop bop or bada 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 bada. So it's a boop 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 boop. Then you have a pulse. We didn't figure that out till later. So it was a hard job for anybody. And a Forbidden song is so fucking difficult and unnecessarily complex in the first place. And
I was trying to play the same notes the guitar players were playing. And John Cuniberti was like, "You can't do that. You guys stop him right now." And then he was, and luckily, like from what this is what my recollection, Caldwell was like really, he was adamant because he was our friend. Like, yeah, no, don't worry, Matt, we'll get you in there, the bass player. And so he avoided me not playing on the album, which happens with some thrash bands. So it was pretty interesting that ended up working out that way.
Yeah, Captain Midnight barely even fucking set foot in the studio for us on that. We just pulled it off. But I got to give John Cuniberti a lot of credit because he thinks. Well, I mean, Matt can back me up on this. He was a bit of a grouch when we were in recording, was he not?
Yeah, I think he was. He got hired. He was like, we were like a job, and he saw the little snot-nosed kids. I think that's the way I felt. Like, yeah.
That's all it was, and we knew that. And no one held it against him. But we talk about it kind of openly and laugh about it now. But when he sees us talking about it, he's been very like
a huge respect.
It wasn't that way, I think in retrospect, he forgot that he was kind of acting like it was just a job and looks back at it like it's a classic metal album now that he was a part of, which is fine. But at the time, he was a bit of a grouch and he wasn't all that stoked to be around us every day. And I remember and this is what he denies to this day, and you can back me up on this. Remember, no one was smoking pot, right? Remember that? Yeah. And then, and he would fucking take out a big joint. He'd be all right, I'll be back in 10. And like not offer, you're like, what the fuck, man? Like, where'd he go? He's smoking weed. So he'd come back and be all right, I'm ready. And then his most famous term that he would say is he'd listen to something and he'd be like, well, I guess that's good enough for combat. And
like, that's why that saying was going around. Is that where it came from?
And it's not a diss, John. Yeah. It's not a diss on you. You were fucking amazing. And I worked with him again. He mastered Man-Made God stuff and everything. Like, he was amazing, dude. But yeah, at the time he just really wasn't stoked. And I'll just end it with this. I remember going to the Christmas party for Alpha and Omega, and I remember talking to one of the secretaries, and then they were talking to us. Yeah, we, really great having you guys here. At least you weren't that one band that John did. And they go, oh yeah, he was having a hard time with that. It was, and I figured out that was us. So
poor guy.
But Doug Caldwell and John together were amazing, and it sounds rich, and the guitars sound great and scratchy, but great and exciting. And he knew how to capture magic in the guitar stuff, and on that end, it was cool.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you something. You brought up Combat, which you guys signed to Combat on Forbidden Evil. How did you guys get signed? Was it something like a lot of bands did back in the day? You send out a demo, a press kit that to all the fanzines, and some label read it and says, I'm going to check this out. How did that all work?
Yeah, Debbie did all that. Debbie Abano did all that. We owe her the biggest credit for getting us put in a position to succeed. Whether we succeeded or not, it's all objective. Here we are 31 years later or 32 years later talking about it. So that in alone is success. I got to say that right there, I'm cool with. But yeah, she did all the negotiating for us and had all her connections and all her friends and in the business. But there's no way it would have happened the way it did if we didn't have the strength of song, and Russ setting us apart from everybody else from the first screen to the last screen, So there's a lot.
I got to give you a little bit of credit there too, Craig, because the one thing that we had for us is we had someone who was willing to get on the phone and make phone calls and ask people for shows. I mean, literally, he went after Debbie, to manage us. It made the steps. Like, I mean, that's what it took. Like, we were just a normal fucking band trying to play shows or whatever, and it had to get someone with the connections to get in there. And I remember Craig was relentless. I think you went to her house or sent her a tape or did, all those kind of things. And if it wasn't for that, we would have never have hooked up with Debbie. So that was cool.
Well, thank God for, ignorance fucking carrying me through moments of like confidence.
I know what that is.
Because I literally cold called her, and I cold called her. I got her phone number through Wes Robinson. And I said, I need her to manage us because we're going to need to do this right. And she was just finishing up with Possessed, and she's all, I remember the first phone call. I go, hey, my name's Craig, and I'm in this band Forbidden Evil, and you're going to want to manage us. And then she's all, I am, huh? I'm like, yes, you're going to want it. Trust me, we're different. You're just finishing with Possessed. I know you are. Just give us a chance. We're playing this show. So I talked her into coming to see us play. Remember that show we did in Alameda at the Twilight Zone?
Was that the one? Wow, that was
with Lethal Creed and Tyrannicide.
Wow.
And there's somebody else, Hellhound.
I remember she was there. I thought she was already our manager by that time.
No, she was coming to check us out.
Yeah. I think she said she would manage us right away, right?
Right away. Right after we played, she's all, I'll do this. And then as soon as, this is the greater part of the story too, and this has been talked about, Violence has talked about it too, because as soon as they found out that she was managing us, they sent Joey over to make sure that she manages them too, because they did not want to lose ground to us in any way. They literally talk about this now. Like, yeah, man, as soon as we heard, we have to have her manage us. We can't have them. There's all that rivalry shit going on. And so we're like, all, you're managing them too? But you just started managing us. We're like, oh, wow.
Dude, I forgot one important factor. I need to back up. Russ Anderson.
Okay.
Russ Anderson. Where did you find him?
Don't ever.
How did he come into the band?
That is a great story. Okay,
let's hear a great story.
Before there was Forbidden Evil, there was kids in a garage with different members and Rob and there's a guy named Leroy Mendez, Rob, John Tegia, who played bass before Matt, and Jim Pittman. And they didn't have a singer. And Leroy saw an ad and bam for some singer. I don't know exactly what it said. I don't know. But it said something like Rob Halford and Bruce Dickinson or something. So then one day, this is a great story because this is just amazing to me. So one day, Rob calls me and said, hey, you want to go to my rehearsal? Dude, we found this amazing singer. He sings like fucking Rob Halford and Bruce Dickinson. I'm like, what? I'm like, no, you didn't. And this is, I'd already flunked out with Rob because I played guitar for 6 months and I tried out for him once. He's like, you're not ready yet. And then a year later, it's a year and a half I've been playing, a year and a half. And, I didn't start till I was 14. So I go to this rehearsal and I fucking open the door to the place and I see this blonde haired dude with this blonde perm who looked like just
bleached hair, right?
Bleached hair. Looked like an Umber Hulk. An Umber Hulk from Dungeons and Dragons, just fucking all muscle and these fucking huge legs. And, he's all, hey, what's up? He's like, he had this little twitch too. He did this little twitch. He was like, hey, what's up? I was like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, look at Rob. I'm like, this guy's old, like fucking old dude here. He's 20. No, he's 21. He's 21. So
he could buy beer. He's old.
Yeah, he could buy beer. So I watched them practice, dude. And I'm like, I'm just sitting there like this. I'm like, they just did Hellbent for Leather, and he sounded just like fucking Rob Halford. They did Restless and Wild by Accept. They did, they didn't have any originals. They did Am I Evil? So then, and I think they did Violence and Force by Exciter. And Russ had just learned these songs because he really didn't know anything besides the Priest and the Maidens. He wasn't familiar with thrash metal. He just moved up from LA. And he had just left, migrated north because he heard there was something cool going on up here. So those guys, the other guys in the band all said, let's go get some cigarettes and beer. So they bailed. And then I was left with Russ. And I look at him and I go, hey, man, you mind if I pick up the guitar? And I picked up Rob's guitar and I started playing Balls to the Wall. And he starts singing it. And we get all the way through the song, just me and him, nobody else. And it was solid and it was tight. And he's all, you should be in this band. And I go, I should. Oh, cool. You should tell Rob. And then basically they got kicked out of Leroy's garage the next day. And then my garage opened up. And then I became in the band. And then we it took a little while to get a name. But they had Forbidden Evil as one of the names that they were throwing around. But it wasn't the name. There's Inquisitor and just all kinds of weird shit. And then we had a bunch of names thrown around. But that's how it started. So you literally the most talented singer I've ever been in a room with in my entire life, was Russ Anderson. Yeah, and I only recently have I even come close with Kayla, but Russ was there's still to this day, it's so hard to find anyone who could do all those things and own it like Russ did.
Russ used to have a range. He would do it. used to blow me away. He had this range that like he would do in sound check or something that would literally make people almost pass out. He would
hit a note. Yeah.
So high, so powerful, so loud in the PA that it did something to people where they went, like, oh, like
it literally got you right here. You'd be and people would go like, oh.
Totally, dude. It was like a superpower or something. It was like amazing.
Now, did
did
Russ write all the vocal melodies in the lyrics, or did you have say in that, Craig?
I did have a little bit of say on the first album on it, and I really I wrote maybe a fifth of those lyrics, you know. Like I wrote stuff for like Marching of Fire was pretty much mine, and it's not a great melody there. It just follows the riff. And I also wrote the melody and a lot of lyrics for Follow Me. But most of it was Russ just flying off the handle. And then, you know, Rob wrote the chorus of Chalice of Blood because he just said, I just want you to go Chalice of Blood. And then the rest Russ wrote. And wow. It's ingenious, really, you know, for a guy just walking in off the streets, or basically by then he was in the band for a few months when we started writing Chalice of Blood and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, you know, he primarily Russ would write the majority of melodies, and then later on I would come in, which we're not talking about any of those other albums, but I would do more of the lyrics, you know. But I just got to throw this one thing about Russ in right now. For anyone wondering, or I don't see anyone's comments, I'm not looking at anything right now. Russ is doing great. He's 17 months sober now.
Gotta keep away for 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. But he's 17 months sober now, and he's got a new life, and he lives in Arizona. And I just talked to his sister, and she said he's fucking doing amazing. So, but you know, music is not really in his mind right now. That's all. You know, he's living life and living sober life. So I just want to throw that out there.
I mean, Russ added some cool stuff for someone who wasn't really into thrash metal, and coming in and hearing all this intricate thrash metal riffs and writing some cool stuff on top of it. It's pretty badass.
Well, he adapted quickly. I don't think there was. I think Thrash and Russ were meant for each other. He was meant to be that one guy that could do anything in thrash. I don't think there was ever there was no moment where I was ever working with Russ where I said, "Wow, that was, you know, that's awkward to do that." Like, that's kind of what Forbidden was to me. It was a band that could be daring with melody because we could do anything. You know, we weren't really limited with a singer like Russ. So it's like, let's just write whatever we want, and he could do it. You know, that's what Forbidden Evil had, a lot of that.
Check this out. I mean, I'll tell you a story. I mean, I went to high school with Will, and we used to jam in his garage, and we listened to Forbidden Evil in his room. You know, every now and then we'd come home from school, and you know, we'd slap on, either he played Kiss, and he had the Forbidden Evil record right there. And I remember looking at the back of it, and I have a question about this, man. Maybe you guys could let me know. Look at this photo. I thought that was the singer. I was like, damn, that dude got some pipes. Because he's right in the middle. You always think like the singer's always in the middle of a 5-band group photo shoot. So I saw this. I go, man, that dude could sing. Then I didn't realize till later, Russ is the singer. So why you guys got to trick people like that, man?
It's just got that cool fish lens look, you know. It was probably the coolest pick.
Well, there's more to it than that, but yeah, that's. I was gonna say, do you want to take that, Matt? But I can see you're taking a bit on that.
You guys tricked me, man. I thought Glenn was the singer all the time.
Glenn was such a badass. You can't. I mean, the dude was just he is a super phenomenal talent, and he has that ego to go right with it, man. Step right in the front, get up in the front. I'm the same way sometimes. So it's like, yeah, you know, he had no problem in right front and center. He fucking definitely played like it for sure.
Well, and what you have there, it's kind of an analogy for his short time in the band, you know, because he was only in the band for a couple of years, and then we came back and did some stuff, and he was in the band for not even a year again. And it's an analogy because we weren't paying attention because we were being a band. And that's really what happened, Matt. I mean, we just were just standing there, and then he would just kind of and then we're looking at all our pictures going, why is he in the center of so many of these pictures? And we weren't even thinking about it because we're just being a band. And he had managed to kind of just put himself in the front and center of stuff. And looking back at it now, it's all, you know, it's all so clear. It's just also clear. Like, okay, yeah, well, you know, because we were always concerned. It's one thing about Matt, myself, and Russ is, you know, we were there from the beginning,
Yeah.
really, the first of ever doing anything to the ending of it all. So we were always band oriented, you know, always like what's good for the band. And that's, you know, other guys came in and made amazing contributions, each one of them, you know, all of them. But like we've never really, and people will look at me, well, you know, Craig, you know, he writes all this stuff. A lot of that's because I got fucking, and Matt can back me up on this, because I kind of got forced to do it because other people weren't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I ended up having to take on more writing burdens than I thought I was. It weren't burdens, but in the end it was. So, but staying on Forbidden Evil,
always open for contribution. Even and later on, when I would just come up with a riff or something, I would get writing credit, which was a little kind of generous. But you know,
no.
About that, yeah.
Not if somebody helped write something. And, you know, and I did that with, you know, like Paul Bostaph never picked up a guitar and played a riff, you know, but you'll see his name on all those songs because I feel like he was an integral part of arranging. And I feel like drummers get the short end of the stick. I feel like most drummers don't get that because you know, the guitar players or songwriters don't want to really share their fucking publishing. But to me, if you're in the band and you're showing up at practice and you're here every day and you're fucking doing all the things, you got to drive the distance and you're a fucking integral part of the band. So I've always taken the philosophy, if there's a penny rolling on the ground, we're all going to split that motherfucker up. And that's just
that we did.
You know,
yep.
Which makes me evidently a horrible person.
I'll back that.
I don't think so. Now, hey, Craig, I'm gonna play a video question for you. Then I want to get into the touring cycle of Forbidden Evil. So check this out, my man. Check this out.
Hey, what's up? I'm Mondo from Escondido, California. This question is about the song Follow Me. Craig, what's that crazy ass riff you play right after the breakdown? This is as far as I got. An up-close demonstration of that riff would be totally appreciated. Thanks for taking my question, Ted.
That
Craig, now you got to put that up, dude.
that rules on all levels.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you for fucking.
He played that part right. That's for sure.
Well, Craig, did he play it right?
The part before, right?
Yeah.
I could get my guitar and play it in the other room, but let me just say that
got to put it up there later for him, Craig. Sure.
I'll put it up later. But I'll just say that that riff was a total spider walk riff, and there's a song I wrote all of the song except for the intro, which Glenn had another instrumental piece. He wrote the intro, and then the rest of that was all written in my fucking high school senior year in the back room where I had a little Gorilla amp, and I would get high, and then after lunch I'd have fifth and sixth period guitar, and I just like
nice.
They'd leave me alone. So I came to practice with that whole. It was like my first song that I really kind of wrote everything, and you know, we just added the intro, and so it's really based on, if anyone's heard of Salt Attack by Michael Schenker, and he has that one riff. I was trying to come up with something crazy like that. I ended up coming with something way crazier, and it's on the A string, and it just goes back. I mean, I'll show it to you. That wasn't quite it. But I'll tell you a funny story. Is I was at Hell House one night, and it was like about 8 a.m. after everyone had been up all night. And this Hell House where Bailoff lived. Rick was there, and I still laugh. I talk about Rick about this all the time. I'm like, do you remember that time? It was 8 a.m. I was picking up a guitar and I started playing. He's all, play me one of those Forbidden Evil riffs, and I played him that riff. It was like a spider walk. And he looks at me. He's all, you should slow that down, bro. It's like, I was like, hey. Yeah. So,
but did the dude play it right?
Well, he stopped. He fell apart on that riff because he was showing me.
Okay.
I think he stopped on that riff because he's talking about the. Let me go get my guitar.
All
you
right.
guys talk for a moment. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about.
Play it acoustically.
It'll be acoustic, yeah.
Hey, Matt, how did you join Forbidden?
funny story. Oh man. Well, there are a couple of things happened. I remembered something though that like I haven't really told anybody that kind of I recollect now that came back to me. Besides like hearing about Forbidden Evil and going to one of their practices and knowing Craig from when I was like we shared like a art class in high school for like a few months before I got kicked out in Fremont. And so I knew it was a acquaintance of his, but as I was a high school dropout and was in continuation, I was getting on the bus to go to catch the bus from my mom's house, and Rob Flynn was on the back of the bus every day. And so I started planting the seed in his head. This was like after I went to one of their rehearsals. And here's where I started telling him, and I don't know if I even remember telling Craig this, is I was on the bus with Rob a few times. And I kind of was like, yeah, dude, I tried out for Metallica, even though I was just there at the audition, and was like, yeah, dude, I'm like pretty badass. I was like telling him stuff like that, like to get in the band. And one day they like, it was like I got him to come out and see a party that I was playing in this local band. And they were considering having me in the band. And that's just a whole nother story from there. If you want to get in, I'll share it with you.
Well, let me add something else to that. So I knew Matt, and he started with playing guitar. I met him when he was playing guitar, and I think he was just playing guitar to look cool, because Matt was like a chick magnet, like times 1,000, And the guitar in his hand was even better. Then he became a bass player, like unbeknownst to me. So then we watched him play that show. We're like, fuck, he's got amazing stage presence. He'd be perfect for us. We really didn't hear what he was doing yet. It didn't really matter. He was playing with his fingers, and he looked hella cool. And we wanted, to up our game.
We'll work him in. We'll figure that out part later.
Yeah.
And you had amazing hair, right?
He did amazing.
Yeah,
amazing hair.
that helped. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, amazing.
But the hair came superpowers.
Okay.
But the very night that we said you're going to be in the band, and we started telling people, was the night that we went and saw you play, and Cliff Burton had passed away. We found out Cliff had died.
Wow.
We found it out at a party in Hayward at this place called Vantage Point. So, it was completely fucking ironic and sad night, but then he tried out for Metallica a few weeks later. He was like everybody else, standing in line to try to be in Metallica.
Yeah, I was. They were playing at the rehearsal spot in Hayward, if you remember that. Metallica was, and I would just used to hang out with people there. So I was really just kind of a hanger-oner, but I kind of just made myself look good, in good light. Was trying to at that time. Is when you're a kid, you could easily say these things, and it paid off, because you guys came out, and I mean later on, it was funny when after I would see Rob on the bus, and I went to the rehearsal, and you guys came out and saw me play. Rob Flynn came running up one day when I was catching Bart. Like they came out and looked for me. Matt, like they knew that I got off I was going to school out in Hayward, and I'd get off at Union City BART, and Bostaph and Rob Flynn were waiting for me at the BART station. We just got rid of our bass player. You're in the band. And it was kind of cool.
I told him where he's going to be and when he's going to be there. And then they fucking hunted him down.
Nice.
I wanted to play with Matt. I love, I love Matt, man. I've always loved Matt. We were fucking
brothers, brother.
We were tight friends, and turned into great brothers over these years. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about, like, it goes back to what I said about Russ and Matt and myself. Like, we've been through it all. We've seen all of it. Everyone come, everyone go, everyone's contributions. They're all important, but we're the mainstays, and that's what we have.
Now you're gonna play the correct riff to that dude.
Yeah, you know which one he's talking about. No, I'm tuned to half step down. This bonus ones is an E flat. But if you can even hear it, can you hear this?
A little
bit. Hear that at all?
Yeah.
Can you hear that?
A little
Anything?
bit. Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, we can see what you're doing. Like,
it's a spider walk.
Yeah. Total spider walk.
There you go.
You don't walk up and not warm up and play this riff.
Or it's not the opener.
Yeah, it's all in the open A and D string.
Dude, you'll have to play it for that guy though on your amp.
I'll play it out of an amp, and I'll send it to Ted, and then Ted can post it for him on the comments.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
And that's what I'll do.
Let's talk about the touring cycle. Record comes out. Where was the first tour for Forbidden Evil?
Dude, that's where it all fucking got amazing. Like,
all right.
And I'll just jump in real quick. Like,
do it.
The thing that was just really cool was, and you probably know this too, Ted, was like when you're first getting in Death Angel or and you're going, oh my God, I'm going to fucking Europe.
Exactly.
To fucking play shows. Holy shit. And like, I had heard stories of like Testament going out there and Death Angel going out there. And, so I just couldn't believe it. Like suddenly we're going from playing these local shows to, I think what was our first tour, Craig? Like Sacred Reich in Europe?
Sacred Reich. Sacred Reich in Europe.
I mean, our first tour was Europe, right?
Wow.
Like we had done like some West Coast shows, and we went out to Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia, yeah,
that's right.
Ultimate Revenge.
That was kind of cool going out to play that when we were just fucking fresh out of high school and shit, And but yeah, no, it was. I remember Debbie Abono happened to have a meeting with all of our parents. Like she's going to take us out of the country, and like it was kind of a new,
And she wanted to meet them.
Yeah.
She called that meeting. I want to meet all your parents and let them know you're in good hands.
Mama Bear and shit,
Mama Bear, yeah.
Yeah. So, that was
intense.
Amazing days. Yeah.
Wow, your first tour for your first record, bunch of fresh out of high school dudes happened to be in Europe with Sacred Reich. That must have been a great tour, man.
It was great. And right before that tour, this goes into where you guys, Death Angel, just before you got there, we done. First of all, I want to go even a little further back, dude. I got to say that when we were finishing the writing for Forbidden Evil, Death Angel was finishing the writing for Frolic Through the Park in the same studio. We were in the same place.
We shared a studio
in Hayward. Yeah, we shared. They needed a place, and we got them a room in there, and they finished writing that and did all their pre-production in there. They actually did pre-production, and then they went in the studio and fucking did that, and then we followed a little bit later, like not a couple months later, to start the whole Forbidden Evil process. But before we went to Europe, the last show we did was at the Centennial Hall, which is the place where the riot happened.
Yeah.
Where Violence and Death Angel got in that beef, and there was a riot, right? But the month before that, we played right before we left on that tour. And remember, Matt, the stage wasn't secured. So
the amps fell over and shit.
Yeah, we had 9 on each side, 3 up and 3 across, right? We did the old school fucking Testament backline in a silver and black, like checkerboard.
Yeah.
It looked amazing. And the fucking stage is moving like this, and they all go boom, 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 boom.
Dude, if anybody would have been behind those amps, they'd have been dead. It was like a 5-foot high stage with the amps stacked up, and they all flew backwards.
Yeah, 9 feet tall, 9 feet tall. Yeah. So everyone talked about the riot, but they forget, because that was insane, and it was packed. It was fucking packed. It was the first.
That was the prelude. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that all got glossed over, because we stopped the show after that. Like, that's it. We can't do it. Secure your fucking stage next time. Evidently, they didn't. I think the stage got pushed back for the Death Angel Violence show too, and then I know there was a big beef that happened that night. But when we were on tour in Europe, we had just played Dynamo. Or no, we were just about to play Dynamo, and we heard about the riot. We were like just arriving in the Dynamo grounds, and we heard that there was a riot, and there was a big fight between Death Angel and Violence. And Debbie's all, God damn it! Just like, she was like so pissed off, like not knowing what happened, but just kind of figured what might have transpired. I just remember that whole moment.
So how long was the touring cycle for Forbidden Evil? Was it one tour in Europe, one tour in the States, or
No,
no,
it was 3, because it was a pretty long cycle too, dude. That first tour was almost 2 full months, because we did every German fucking town, it seemed like.
Yeah, I remember we did like 15 or 16 shows in just Germany.
Yeah, we did like 8 in the UK, and we did. I mean, we went. It was pretty extensive. Our first show was in Paris, which is wild. It was fucking amazing too.
Yep.
Wow. And you guys did the States? after?
We did the States with Exodus.
Paris and Sweden, remember? It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, Sweden. Yeah, the Swedish show. Let's just back up.
Okay.
Swedish show. So we're playing. It's the first time we play in Fagersta, and we, I mean, I could tell you all about that show, but I'll just tell you this much. I come to find out years and years later, and it's fine. I find out more and more bands that were there. There were so many people at that particular show that ended up being in successful metal bands, punk bands. Like you had guys all the way from, obviously the Haunted guys, the Arch Enemy guys, fucking, At the Gates guys, Refuse, the singer of Refuse was there. Who I know became good friends with Dennis. Was that? Yeah. Messiah from fucking Candlemass. Like, but he was already a star. Like, these were kids that were in the audience. All these guys were kids, and they were so influenced by that show. And then the year after, when we came back with Death Angel, they hold those two shows in the highest regard at that club. To this day, like, I hear it, that show changed my life. I'm like, really? Like, really? And I had no idea how many of these people were in that fucking venue. And they were just kids, because it was a weird place on the outskirts out of town. And I believe both times we played there was a Sunday. So alcohol's outlawed on Sundays in Sweden at that time. So they were drinking moonshine. They were drunk on moonshine. They were fucking wasted, rolling down the hills like fucking dirt clods, just rolling down. I was like, what's going on? So yeah, but then we came back from all that, did the Exodus tour when they took a break from the Headbangers Ball tour. And that was fucking amazing. And then we did another almost two months with Sacred Reich through the States. And then we were told, get back in the studio and start writing. We're like, what? We barely even, I had started writing Step by Step and One Foot in Hell, but that was all we had. We had nothing else. And we just went back in the studio immediately and started writing.
Wow. Okay, speaking of, check this out, gentlemen.
Hey guys, this is Chuck. So happy to see you guys on this show. And
Nice.
my question is, what is your favorite song to play off of Forbidden Evil? And bonus, if you can share any stories from the first time you guys toured with Death Angel. See you guys.
Nice.
Take it away, Matt. Take it away.
Probably, there's it's hard to explain, but there's a couple of riffs that we play that when you're on the stage and you just feel the whole band and like we're able to lock into Forbidden Evil, like fucking so heavy when we're all playing that. There's this feeling on stage when everything just sounds killer and you're in it and your body moves with the music and it's just fucking so amazing. I got that same way when we used to play like Infinite when it came out, that fast intro. It's just something about how we would lock in on those things where everything else is bees in the blender, right?
In the blender, yeah.
But there's like when something happens on the stage, when the monitors and the drums, everything just sounds, it's just in the pocket. And Forbidden Evil is one of those songs where, for me as the bass player, it was just that song was just so fun to play live. Like real simple fucking gallop riffs, but just fucking lock in that are so badass. Yeah, that for me, that was one of my favorite songs to play off of Forbidden Evil was Forbidden Evil.
Yeah, that might be my favorite to play off that one too. I always like, I like them all, but some of them are fucking hard. Like Through Eyes of Glass is incredibly, from the first riff to the end.
And the crowd's
incredibly hard.
Chalice of Blood and Through Eyes of Glass.
Through Eyes of Glass.
Yeah.
And Off the Edge is always fun too. And Feel No Pain. And the few times that we played Follow Me, I had fucking incredible amounts of like later when we came back again. I was like, wow, that's fucking incredible. They've all got their moments. Asking the crowd what they like is one thing. Asking what's fun to play, I think Forbidden Evil might be the funnest one for me to play too. It's because I love how it moves along and never goes back to anything after the middle. Just keeps moving.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to talk about Forbidden Evil later on before we close the show. And any memories from the first time you toured with Death Angel? He asked.
Where do you start?
Well, we were already friends.
Yeah, you guys.
We were tight.
You guys did Europe and the U.S. with them on the Act 3 tour.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was fucking amazing. Yeah, dude. I've always said this. Two things I've always said. One is, and in my opinion, there was no better, and still is no better live band, the Death Angel, out of all of us. The unity, and you guys still bring it like that, even with 3 different guys. You've been in the band for a long time now, but
Yeah,
it still has that same fucking all 5 fingers together.
Exactly.
And we used to watch that every night, and it made us better. When we toured with Death Angel, that's when we became a really good band. And then, you know, the world would have seen that had music not changed so much so quickly. But they made us a better band. And the other thing I'll say is they were our closest friends out of all the Bay Area bands. You know, we were that version. I mean, I was super good friends with, you know, Dennis. Like, we were really good friends with Dennis, and got to know all the other guys. And later on, I became, you know, tight with all you guys. And then obviously played with Andy later on too.
Yeah.
But I mean, my love for Death Angel and all the Bay Area bands, but Death Angel, like, I just have a special place in my heart. And I know Matt feels the same way.
Yeah, you know, the crazy thing about that time was, you know, for me, I was more, oh my God, I'm on tour. Let's party. You know, let's look at the groupies. It's fucking, what kind of trouble will we get into? But it was kind of the tail end of, or at least we got a chance to play on a big production tour. Like when we went out to Europe with Death Angel, there was like 3 tour buses, you know, one for the crew, one for one for the band. And there was a semi truck. And so there's a big giant entourage, and we were having hotel rooms. And me and Dennis used to be like, okay, who could break shit up? And we were always kind of like competing to who could be more fucking of this poser rock star guy, you know? And so that was like the insane memories as a teenager and kid, because every night the show was sold out. They were like Warfield size theaters, you know? And so there'd always be
some of them were that big, not every night.
Well, yeah. See, my stories get
Pump
better.
the brakes.
Yeah, I mean, all the big cities have. We
played some theaters. We played some theaters. Yeah. We played the Moore Theater in Seattle.
Shit, Warfield size, you know, stuff like that. And but it was funny because there'd be a big line of girls outside for Mark Azagueda, and you know, Mark would never give them the time of day back. Never. And so
not even a conversation.
Exactly. You know,
Mark was so dedicated to his girl, and and he was sober. He was sober.
Yeah.
The entire, people don't know that because they see Mark, he's like party animal now. Like Mark back then is no thank you. I'm gonna do some
play
push-ups.
a show. Remember, he'd play a show, and Mark would play a show, and we would get on the bus, and he would be like doing push-ups like after
all the fucking time, before and after, 300 a day.
Mark can go to sleep, and like, well, thanks, Mark, for all the groupies you left for me. Cool. You know,
I saw that tour at the Warfield. It was incredible, man. You guys toured up Death Angel. You guys, both bands were on fire.
Yeah. That's how it was for like those months.
We were peaking.
Yeah.
We were. I mainstay, like I was saying, like people would have got to see us, you know, Forbidden, like right after 91, 92. If we would have had Paul and kept that same fucking momentum, and music wouldn't have done the dramatic shift that it did, which I don't personally mind. I know some people get all bent about it, but I'm glad the pieces got pushed off the table and then reset again, because I feel like it was getting very tedious out here, you know. But that's a whole different story. But I feel like that we were just really on our game with Tim Calvert and you know, Paul Bostaph and that lineup. It was just like we were, you know, we were on fire, and then life just handed us a few fucking sour lemons that we didn't know how to make lemonade out of, you know.
Good analogy.
But speaking of, now, you know, slowly getting to the end here, the two of you are going to make an appearance together somewhere, and let's talk about that real quick, because we got people watching the stream from Europe, and especially from Holland. So
is anyone actually watching? I don't have a comment. I have no way to see comments. Is there people watching right now?
I'm on my phone, so people comment.
You don't see it either? Yeah, okay.
Talk back and forth, so. But I do have listeners from the Netherlands, so if you want us to talk about what's going on in the Netherlands for you two, that would be great.
Yeah, man, it's gonna happen. A couple of years ago, I was contacted by the organizers for Dynamo Metal Fest, and they asked me if I would be interested in heading up a show, knowing that I've done this with Rob before, Rob Flynn, and I've organized people with, you know, that, and then helped do the whole Killing on Command thing. They were saying, can you do something like that for just Bay Area thrash metal bands so we could do a thing for, you know, all you guys that came since 1987 to Dynamo. And I thought, I was like, I can make it cool. So I said, well, why don't I come out there and check it out? So I did, and I went out there. It was 2019, and I watched the show and met everybody and was just fucking taking it in and looking at the grounds, because I don't know where this is. Eindhoven. This is where the first Raw Evil, you know, Testament did a live in Eindhoven. Exodus did a live in Eindhoven. We did our live at Eindhoven thing in '89, and it was exactly 30 years, Matt. Think about that. 30 years later, I was standing there watching Armored Saint, and they were better than I've ever seen them, including way back then. They were incredible that day. I had goosebumps. A lot of people, I'd ask, and I'd look at people that have goosebumps. It was like, and I decided right then, I mean, I was already made a decision. Yeah, I could probably do something, but then I kind of just started envisioning like how it should be. Now it's finally happening. We lost an entire year. The whole thing got scrapped last year. And then we just finally got the clearance to do this just a couple weeks ago. Really, like, it's opened up. The country's open. Bay Area Interthrational is what it's called. And it's going to be guys from different thrash metal bands, different iconic thrash metal bands that are all from the past, guys that have played Dynamo before, guys that haven't, but mostly guys that are all part of the history from different regions, different countries, different continents. Mostly Europe and the United States, because a lot of it's closed for a lot of people can't travel as much as they want. But we have openings up in certain places. So Forbidden Evil, or I should say the Omega Wave lineup of Matt, myself, Mark Hernandez, and Steve Smythe are kind of the core band. And we're going to play only songs from Metallica, Exodus, Testament, Violence, Forbidden, Possessed, and Death Angel. Nobody that's in any of the bands that happen to be there can play on their own song.
Wow.
That's the catch. We are not allowed to play on a Forbidden Evil song or any song off of that Forbidden does, which I'm not going to tell you what it's going to be. But we're not allowed. We're going to be watching other people do that, as anybody else from any other band that happens to be there would have to do the same. So it's a challenge, and it's going to be really fun. It's going to be a big party. And I think everyone's really ready for this. Like, after the year we had, just to go up there and sing all those songs, like, and just thrash, because Eindhoven's kind of the epicenter for thrash metal in Europe because of Dynamo.
You know, so, I want to talk about that, because it seems like, you know, Holland and Eindhoven has it's a big thing for us Bay Area dudes. My first gig with Death Angel was in Eindhoven, overseas gig.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yeah. And, you know, I've heard all the stories. Come on, you guys put out live albums. Something about Eindhoven and Holland in general is just, I don't know, it's something
where we
magical.
all started, man.
It's like something magical, right?
Yeah,
I'm just going to say it.
Go ahead, Craig.
Say it. Andre. Starts with Andre. And Andre had the vision to pull all these guys out when it was fresh and new. And he started pulling everybody over there with Exodus. You know, he's Merciful Fate, like he's, you know, which isn't Bay Area, but he had that foresight, and it started with him and Metal Mike, but mostly Andre and his ambassador ways pulled in all these guys. And he pulled Forbidden out there when we were fresh kids, and we did that show, you know. But he's not affiliated with this newer the newer Dynamo, because he gave up on that, and then other guys came to pick up the torch and represent what he did. So I really want to get Andre up on stage. I'm hoping to get him up on stage and take a fucking bow, because we all owe it to what he originally did, and we also owe it to the new guy organizers for carrying the torch. But Andre should get his fucking love, and I hope he gets out there and does that for us. It's really him.
Andre's the man. Andre and Metal Mike. I mean, every time we come into Holland, whether we're coming from another country or just going into Holland alone, I don't know, there's something special about the place. You get into Holland, you just like, it feels like home. You know what I mean? And all the people come out, all the friends.
Yeah, all the friends we have over there.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it used to be the fact that they were the only country that you could fucking openly buy hash in. Like, now that's not even a big deal. But for us, as soon as we pulled in a Holland, like, coffee shop, you know, like it was always the same, you know. But people bonded over that. Like, the bands would bond over all that as well. Like, backstage, you know, you're hanging out with everybody, and it's the same the boundaries were gone. It was just a very like open country, and then the crowds are crazy, and they sing every word. And you know, we had a good set, right? We had a good set, and then we played fucking Victim of Changes, and we had a great set because everyone knew it, and we did our version of it, and they went fucking bananas, and we were forever loved in Eindhoven from that moment on. You know,
man, gotta love Eindhoven. Speaking of, can you give out any guest players for Bay Area International? I know
I just named 4. I just named 4.
Yeah. Is it a secret, or you just want people to wait?
Yeah, I'm keeping it mostly on my hip. Well, okay. I will, and he's kind of laid out some hints. I'm sitting in Chris Contos's fucking house right now, and this is the studio where the Boneless Ones practices. I am bringing Chris Contos to play drums, as well, so I can say that much. And he's an integral part of all of our fucking scenes out here. And I'm also going to bring Harold O. Oh, there you go. The famous Harold O from Murder in the Front Row fame with Brian Liu, who introduced us to a lot of people. Harold O was people around here know,
right?
Yeah, people around here know, but people in Europe and the rest of the world need to know more. And I feel like I've got Harold doing artwork for me. Like his doodles are going to be like all part of the whole vibe.
Nice.
Like Harold is going to get up there and play a few songs with us too. And he's important. He was in DRI for like 20 years too. But before that, he was the photographer that fucking got everyone to stand together, and all those pictures. He's like, "Why don't you go over there? What are you doing over here?" You know, Harold would be like, "Fucking, he's the best ever." You know, Harold's amazing. So, I'm gonna bring that vibe. Is my intention is to bring. That's the vibe. 1988, 1987, not 1990 anything. I want that old school, you know, blue jeans and fucking Marshall stacks, and that's the vibe.
Holy, and the bonus, the next day at Dynamo, Dress the Dead is playing. Your band.
But that is fucking right. And that's been in the works this couple of years too. Our first European after all the. It's a lot of shit. I'm really happy today, dude. I actually woke up so thankful today for everything, and happy to do this interview because like people care about this album after all this time. It's so wild,
dude. Dude, I mean, I could
so wild.
I had to shave it down a little bit. I wanted to get in. That could be a part 2 or something that'll segue into Twisted into Form. But dude, I just want to say I've talked to you about this the other day, Craig, when we were on the phone. I was telling you Through Eyes of Glass is my favorite, but after listening to the album more and more, I think Forbidden Evil just beat it by a hair. And to me, when I listen to Forbidden Evil, it sounds like an army going to war, slaughtering, winning, and that triumphant scream that Russ does at the end when he says evil, that means you won. And the last outro with all the guitars that sound like Merciful Fates, like you guys riding back into town.
Totally. And that's the first song that Rob and I collaborated on, you know. But, you know, I don't think – I just wanted, before we walk out here, because we talked about Russ and we talked about Glenn, but I think we really need to talk about Paul.
Let's do that.
I did try to get him, dude. He's so busy doing whatever. Paul can turn into a ghost at times, and right when he's busy doing work, and that's what he's doing right now. I know he's working on something. Some people may know, some people may not. But he's working on something. But Paul, you know, I think it cannot be denied. Before he was ever in Slayer, he was really unique driving force for this band with his stylistic fucking composition drumming, and you know the fills that he played and everything like that. And Paul was like so bombastic. He didn't exactly know what his fill was going to be. When we were recording Forbidden Evil, he wasn't really sure, so he knew the beats, but that fill was like it had to be inspired in a magical moment, and it wouldn't always land at the right time. So we did a bunch of takes, but not because Paul was sloppy, but because he wanted the perfect fill. And that's a lot of what's on Forbidden Evil, is that kind of chasing the fucking, you know, big, he was a huge Tommy Aldrich fan and stuff like that, you know, like guys like that. So I really, really appreciate the short amount of time that I got to play with Paul and write with Paul, because I felt like I was writing with Paul, because we'd arrange and then everybody would play, you know, like. And then when Tim came in, he helped arrange some stuff with Paul too, like Out of Body and stuff like that. It was like the first time Tim really sat down arranging stuff with him.
I think,
but yeah, it's like Paul's
Paul-
amazing, dude.
Dude, he made his drumming style. It's very unique, one of a kind style, and I think if it was another drummer, I don't think Forbidden Evil would sound the way it would.
No,
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? He had
and
a
and,
really
and that's
cool
fine,
style.
you know.
Yeah.
And but because of Paul being who he was and so great, Steve Jacobs didn't get as much credit as he should have, because Steve was incredible, like almost another level. But it was so good and so smooth compared to Paul's, like, choppier and more fucking, I don't know how to put it. It was more like a tornado. Steve was so good that it almost didn't translate the same. You know what I mean? Like,
Gotcha.
it was almost, so they're both great. No drummer that's been in Forbidden has ever been anything but great. Mark Hernandez, same. Gene Hoglan sitting in had to be great because he had to play all their parts.
Yeah.
These guys all had it. Sasha Horn, who's now an Exhorter, he is fucking great. That guy is fucking great, and he never got to record with us.
Oh.
Well,
Speaking of Paul, one thing before I get to my questions with you guys, how I end the show. What was your feeling when you found out Paul was leaving to go to Slayer?
You go take that first, Matt. Tell him honestly.
Honestly, for me, I was a little starstruck at the time, just because I just looked up to Slayer because I wanted to be in a popular band like as big as Slayer, and we always wanted to tour with Slayer, and so I was really like happy to be connected in some way, kind of weird, like kind of way, like, oh man, like I was kind of like bragging about people, like, yeah, our drummer's in Slayer now, I mean, even though it hurt that he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were negotiating with some labels and we were trying to, it was during that period when we were trying to, the 90s when everything was changing, and we were trying to get a new deal, and we were right in the middle of it. And I remember having a typical band argument, one that we would have all the time. And Paul left in a hustle, and then in the hussy fit. The next couple of days later, he came back and said he joined Slayer, which was like, wow, cool. Yeah, I mean, he says now that he actually quit Forbidden, and he just happened to get a call from him the next couple of days, which probably happened just like that. But when he said he quit Forbidden, we all quit Forbidden quite a few times. I mean, it would have been something.
For me.
We would have made up. We would have made up, like, you know what I mean? Like, Paul had quit Forbidden a couple of times, and we would have probably made up in a few days or a few weeks later, but he got that call from Slayer, and I was stoked, man. I was just like really happy for him because I think his first show was Castle Donington, so like he literally in a couple months was playing one of the biggest festivals in the world. So, and it was just kind of cool.
At that time, it was the biggest. At that time, it was the biggest. Yeah.
But musically wise, I think Craig could probably elaborate on that. But I was just kind of more. I was less angry at him and more proud of him. I was that way.
Yeah, the pride for me came later after the anger stage, because I honestly, like, him and I were. What was happening is we were negotiating with RCA, and we had a really, really, really big record deal on the table. At that time, it was a fucking big deal. And, they don't throw money around like this anymore. And we were arguing a lot because we were trying to write. And one thing about Paul and writing is he would get frustrated if he didn't have, like, if it wasn't coming easy for him. Remember that, Matt? He'd get like mad if the moment wasn't going easy. He'd get frustrated, and then he was real easy to snap. And I pushed him one too many times, and I made a comment about Red Light Fever when the fucking record button is like, dude, don't ever say that. And that, I think that was like kind of like the catalyst to the excuse, all he needed to look for other things to do. So it took me. Like, I was just like, we didn't even get to finish that. We didn't get to talk about it. We didn't get it. You're just going to what the fuck? And I was, and then the label like backed out when he quit. And I was, and there was things involved with that, and it got weird. So, but not fast forward to like a couple months later, I was completely over it. And we had Steve Jacobs, and I was cool, and I started talking to Paul again. And, later on we became really good friends again. And I've even played with Paul. Like, he's played with me you know, he sat in for Man Made God for a little bit. He sat in with Spiral Orange for a little bit. You know, like we're cool. You know, but at the time it was because I was only 21 or 22. I was 22 when he quit, and I just wasn't equipped to deal with that change. You know, so. But I am so happy that he's made a great career for himself, and he's fucking still Paul. You know, he's still Paul. He's still the same guy. He still is a professor. You know, and he sits down and thinks about things, and he thinks really, really fucking hard. I don't know anyone who thinks about his parts more than Paul, and really puts his like
Paul
soul
was
into
way
it.
like I remember Paul was just so focused on the music, which I so respect and honor now. But at the time, it was all like, it was more of a good time for me, you know? And I was like, and he kind of took a back seat a little bit and allowed me to kind of suck a little bit, but I know it really bothered him. Like he was all, you know, I know but he was just so serious about his craft, you know, and I respect that now. I wish at the time I would have been more like that as well. But no, it's huge respect. It's fucking pretty cool to know like a couple of guys that came from this band went on to sell like millions of records, you know. So it kind of helped Forbidden stay in the limelight as well, you know, like later to get all those festival spots, you know.
Yeah, looking back at it, and I can say this objectively without fucking bitterness or jaded, which I don't get bitter or jaded. That's how come I keep doing this shit. But we were kind of like fucking AAA ball, you know, like Forbidden was the AAA team. They fucking everyone would get better, and then not everyone, but some of these guys would be able to make the jump. And I was the loyal fucking guy who's like, I'm going to stay with my AAA team, you know, it's because it's fucking my team, so I'm going to stay. So looking back at it, I see it more clearly. We've all had shit to do, and I've turned down. I turned down being in Death full time too, which probably wouldn't have been full time because Death goes through members so quickly. But among other things that I didn't even go to try out for that I was asked to do, I've just been a loyal guy, and to a fault, to my credit, it is what it is. You know?
All right, man. What I normally do, coming to the end, I always ask my guests 12 questions. I call them like the random 12, and I'm going to fire out some questions and you guys answer them. Cool? And there's a bonus question at the end, and I want a truthful answer for that one. So let's do this. First one, mild or spicy?
Matt?
More mild these days, but I'm down for fucking spicy now and then as well.
Spicy,
All
but
right.
it's starting to fucking take its toll.
All right.
We're like in our 50s now, man. So it's like crazy.
Dogs or cats?
I can't have a dog because I am in a rental, but we have a cat. I love them both, but I do want a dog.
Yeah, I love them both, but I prefer the dog because I have a real relationship.
Man's best friend.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I hear that. A movie you could watch over and over again.
Ooh. Pulp Fiction.
That's
Godfather.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. There's
a million.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But I just like was recently thinking about a movie, like movies I've seen so many times. Oh God, fuck. What is it? Well, I mean, Spinal Tap I could watch over and over again. You know, you know what? My very favorite movie to watch over and over again, Young Frankenstein.
Okay.
Oh, dude, you know what I turned on the other day? Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, that one's great too.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how epic that movie is and how the cinematography is just insane and just it's fucking
I love that movie.
Okay.
Fire away.
Biggest pet peeve?
Ooh. Damn. I got a lot of them like at work and stuff, but I think my biggest pet peeve is people that don't educate themselves and just kind of sit around and like, and I'm not talking about people with politics or their opinions and stuff like that, but like I have people at my work that get in the job and never learn how to like write a contract or write how, they just kind of blame everybody else for not succeeding. It's like, if you're going to do something in your craft, do something well, do your best, I think that's a pet peeve of mine, that people should be more focused on their craft, whatever that is, you know.
That's great, because I think you kind of went right where I was going to go in a long way about it. Yes, when people don't try their best and I know they have something better, or when they let something obstruct their fucking, progress, like when people get caught up in little shit and tend to drag their ass because they got their feelings hurt or something, whatever it is, well, just stay focused. Lack of focus. We'll put it that way. Lack of focus bothers me.
All right. What time does your alarm go off in the morning?
Oh, dude, I like what's sad is my alarm clock goes off at 6:30, but I wake up at like 5:30, and more as the older I get, fucking 2 o'clock in the morning to go pee and shit. 3 or 4 times. You know, like, so sleeping is just is all erratic now. It's the older you get, I don't know, for me, is fucking 4 to 6 hours a night. So
yeah, I don't need an alarm, because I'm up at 5 to piss most days anyway, and then like, you know, I'm definitely out of bed and doing shit before fucking 7:30, 8 a.m. most days. You know, doesn't even matter. No matter what day it is. You know, I'll be up. Let's put it this way: I'll be up tomorrow at 4 a.m. to start smoking my pork butt to make pulled pork for Father's Day for my family. So
wow, that sounds good.
Because that's going to be like a 10-hour to 11-hour smoke.
Damn, take some pictures of that, buddy.
All right, guys. A song you love to sing when you're all alone.
Ooh. Man, I don't really have a lot of those, because I'm like really self-conscious about my voice, even
Come
to
on, man.
myself.
I know people when they're driving in their car by themselves, they're just singing away, thinking they're the best singer on the planet. We all do that.
I used to do that with
I'm probably the one person that doesn't do that, because but I mean, anything that I can sing is like old Metallica and Exodus, you know, that stuff like that is what the stuff that I'll belt out.
Yeah, I'll do Beatles songs.
Okay, there you go.
I love the Beatles. So I'll sing a Beatles song. It's getting better all the time. Like I'll just try to be positive. I'll get a little doop doop doop. Paul McCartney stuff always does that.
There you go. How about this? Dream vacation.
For me, I probably, because I've been to so many places in the world, and like I have a few favorites that I want to go back as a tourist, because you know how sometimes we just drive through and we don't get a chance to see, even though I made an effort to do all that. But I do want to go back to Rome and London a little bit, spend touristy stuff. And probably on my bucket list is the Holy Land, because I want to fucking smoke a joint in the most holiest places of the world, you know, where Allah flew away.
You want to go smoke a joint, put your hand on the Wailing Wall,
where Jesus Christ was, you know, supposedly entombed, and Allah flew on a horse right above that, you know, like the two most. And then you know, I definitely want to go there before I die.
Italy. I want to do the Alps. I want to take a train tour through all the Alps, but then stop in Italy and go see all the ruins, and maybe go to Greece.
Okay, there you go.
With my wife.
Okay, one thing about you that probably annoys others.
My ego. Fucking I
never bothered me.
Yeah, no, I sometimes think I know more than I do.
Well, that's true. Yeah, but same here. So we both did that. A lot of my
talk over other people. I do that a lot. So
that's just like I did.
Yeah.
A lot of my biggest things. I mean, I had a list, dude, of things that probably annoyed people in my past, and it was mostly my thinking that I know it all when I was really young, and so a lot of that has stuck. Like that's changed over the years. Like trust me, I've had it whittled away and been broken down. And, you know, but if people only knew me back then, sometimes they would think of me as the cocky kid that I was. And that's not really who I am anymore. It really isn't. I've been humbled enough, but I also know where I stand in the world. And I don't see myself as anything more than a lucky dude who's carved a little tiny cult following, you know. That's kind of how I see it.
Okay. Your favorite smell?
Killer green bud. man.
Killer barbecue.
I like
Killer
this.
barbecue. I love the smell of a good barbecue.
Good burning flesh makes you salivate, man. It's like
It makes it, yeah. And if you have that sticky, if you have that sticky green bud before you smell the burning flesh, there's nothing better.
There you go. An instrument you wish you could play.
Piano.
Yeah, I get a lot of those.
Yeah.
Drums.
I get.
I vicariously play drums through the greatest drummers in metal. Some of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I literally communicate what I want, and then they add their own greatness, and it works out beautifully. But I wish I could just play.
When we get older, especially for me, man, I just have so much respect for music now. Like, I was a closed-minded metalhead kid, but as with YouTube now and all this stuff out there, you could just having every song you could stream, you could fall down that rabbit hole of just amazing. I mean, there isn't an instrument that I would not want to pick up and play now. I mean, I just want to own everyone and just spittle around with it now. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Nate, here, check this out. On the scale of 1 to 5, how good of a dancer are you?
Dude, I'm the best. Number 5.
Number 5?
If I didn't have 2 left feet, in 3rd grade, I was pretty good.
How about
I could rip at the horizontal bop.
Okay. Scale, come on, 1 to 5. Come on, gents.
Probably 1.5 to 3.
Okay.
But if I practice, I know I could get good at anything.
I'm a solid 2.
Okay, solid 2. What did you have for breakfast today?
Some swine, some pork belly, and some chicken fetuses.
Nice.
Yeah.
I had a veggie omelet, which I usually do every morning that I work out, but there's no time to work out today. I wanted my brain on high, so broccoli, onions, mushrooms, and egg, and just a tiny bit of cheese and salsa, and I'm good to go.
There you go.
Oh, and spinach, and I do green spinach and kale.
We're straight up chef these days, Craig.
Well, I try to eat better. I want to live longer. I'm trying to take better care of myself.
There you go.
Just try it.
I'm going to give you a bonus question. I want you guys to be honest with me here. Do you miss it? Do you miss Forbidden?
Yeah, I don't miss it more than I miss it because I miss hanging out with the guys. I miss the camaraderie you have when you go to band practice, and but I don't miss the sitting in a club somewhere with all this time on your hands, the touring part. I mean, there's parts of the touring part I miss as well. Of course, the live performances are always awesome, but no, I would say I don't really miss it as much anymore. I'm more like focused on wanting to play the music rather than what that was back then, which was just a big fucking craziness of flying to one city or driving for 12 hours and that part. Yeah. But
all right. Well, I've already told you this once, Ted, and I don't miss it a lot of ways. The friendship and the camaraderie, like Matt said, I do miss. But I took a different role in Forbidden, and it became very hard for me. It became where I had to do too many things and wear too many hats, and people didn't have time to contribute as much as I'd like them to. And that's really why we kind of stopped, is because, we could have kept going to some capacity, but it just became like where I was just doing for the amount of money that Forbidden makes, which is like, if you want to tour with somebody, like to do a tour with Exodus and Testament and Death Angel and Forbidden down there, like, we're down at the bottom, you can't survive like that. So if I'm going to do things where I'm making no money, I better enjoy it like all the way. And Forbidden became just too much of a task for me. That's really, so I don't miss it very much. I just look back at it fondly, it's very fondly. Like it was great times.
We were at a point where we could go play anywhere in the world and get on these festivals. But, it's like the festivals would tell us like, yeah, you guys are on the 2-3 o'clock spot, and we're going to pay your expenses and we'll give you a little bit of the t-shirt money. But if you guys don't want it, that's fine. That was like where we were at. It was like, playing these phenomenal shows, but with no money or anything like that. And so, you know, when you have kids and a family, all that shit, it's tough.
Which brings me to what I believe that the real ingredient that it takes is what Death Angel has. And that's the dedication to hit it over and over and over again and keep building yourself up. And not everyone in the band could. It's not that they didn't want to, they just couldn't, you know, and ultimately that's what it comes down to. Like, life doesn't necessarily allow you or give you the allowances to just go do everything. When everyone says, put the band back together, get Russ back. Like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That's cool. I'm glad you feel that way, but it's not like that. You know, everyone's got shit. Matt was the first one to say, I got to work and go back. And I was like, I totally understand that. You know, like, there you go. Like, we all have shit to do.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking, I don't mean to put this on you guys. I just don't mean to put it on you, but you're the last. Everyone.
But we were there.
No,
we did it
today.
already.
Today, I mean, yeah, I mean, you did it, but you know, now that Mordred's back, Heathen, Possess, everyone.
Oh, they're all.
You guys are missed. You guys are missed.
Yeah.
I'll say that you guys are missed.
It wouldn't be the first time that we're the last.
Okay, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You guys are missed to make the Bay Area thrash.
Hey, I'm glad you guys are doing it for us to keep.
Yeah, I am too.
Be there for us, you know, like if that ever did come about. But man, I'm so proud of you guys for fucking in there and doing it.
Yep.
And I just get off at every Death Angel show, man. Fucking love it.
Still the best. Still the best.
Yeah.
You're a big part of that, Ted. You're a driving force with Will.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ted. Driving force with this new band.
Thanks.
And, you know, and the last thing for the people that are groaning, like wishing that this is some sort of segue into Forbidden getting back together, let me just say that the most important thing you guys should be thinking about is Russ Anderson's health, right? So Russ being sober is paramount in his life. And when Russ is ready, if he ever says, I can do some stuff and I'm ready to go fucking face it, and we want to do a few shows, maybe one day we will. But until then, I'm never going to force anyone to do anything that they're not ready to do. And I refuse to carry fucking more burden than I need to. So there you go.
All right, there you go. Everyone out there, a couple of things. If you're in Holland, the Netherlands, or anywhere around Europe, go to the Dynamo Festival. Check out all the bands, especially
August 21st and 22nd.
Check out Bay Area International with these two gentlemen, along with Steve Smythe and Mark Hernandez and some special guests. And the next day, stick around for the next day for Dress the Dead.
That's right.
Craig's
we're on at high noon on the 22nd.
Which
nice.
Is awesome.
Thanks, Dad.
No, thank you. And I just want to let all my viewers know that I'm going to pick a random winner who watched the show today, and I'm going to give away a Death Angel hat because I like you guys.
I don't have a Death Angel hat. And you know what? I want a Death Angel shirt. We'll talk about this later.
Yeah, we'll talk about this after, when we close out. So everyone, thank you. Matt, Craig, thanks for joining in.
Thank you, Ted. Thanks, everybody.
And don't forget Dynamo Fest, and I'll see you guys next week because my special guest next week is a friend of yours, Aru Luster.
Oh, Aru.
Yeah.
We love Aru.
Yeah. All right, man. And